It's going to be an interesting one. The topic is how leaders decide, and it is going to be moderated by the ever-charming Suhail Said. He's a political columnist and commentator, and the panelists on this session are Neerja Chowdhury, she's a journalist and author. There's Sanjaya, who is the journalist and author, and Rasheed Kidwai, also a journalist and author. I request all of you to please get on the stage.
And, we have, of course, as you are noticing, finalized the themes very, very interestingly. So while the previous one was India's best and worst prime ministers, some very candid talk on the stage. Our next session is going to be how leaders decide. That, again, is a very, very interesting theme, giving you a sense of the leaders. Could we please have the panelists on stage very, very quickly? And Suhail Said, of course, is known to be very candid, but he's going to make our speakers talk candidly today as well. Round of applause for our panelists who joined us. Mr. Baru, could we get you on stage?
Thank you. He's the moderator. The troika of biographies. These three people have written more books than many people in the Congress party and the BJP have read in their entire lives. Sanjay Baru accidentally wrote a brilliant book on a prime minister who was accidental, but to my mind, who will be remembered in history as a decent, great prime minister. Rasheed has written books on everyone. His two future books are on Myra Vadra Gandhi and Ryan Vadra Gandhi, since he's covered every other member of the family in any case. Neerja has written an outstanding book, truly outstanding. If you're going on an Indigo flight or one of these low-cost carriers, I suggest you don't take it because it weighs a heck of a lot, but it's an outstanding book telling you how prime ministers decide. So we've been given 30 minutes, which, by the way, is nothing, but we'll have to make do because that's what it is. So I'll start with Neerja, then I'll go to Rasheed, and then I'll go to Dr. Baru, because your book is the most recent of them all. I know because I've read the book, but you tell these fine young men and women, A, why the book? And B, why did you leave out Narendra Damodar Das Modi?
Why the book? I've done political coverage for decades. And during this period, I felt the real picture did not come across. How decisions are actually made, the ordinary Janta didn't know. And that was a story that needed to be told. So very simply, for a long time, I have, hoped to do this book, but being a working journalist, you never have the time. And as a woman, you are multitasking, trying to stay on the tightrope walk. So a book is something that's a luxury and you put it on the back burner. But I would take notes when I went to see somebody about the day's story. I would ask them other questions and I would make copious notes and keep them very carefully. And it's only in 2018 that Aleph signed me on. And really, it was during the COVID years that I wrote the book. And I don't know how the COVID years went. It was a 10 by 10 by 10 triangle, 10 by 10 feet triangle from my computer to my bed to the dining table. And that's what life was about for those 2.5 years. Very exciting to be living with these characters. But anyway, finally the book was done. Why did I leave out Narendra Modi? I wanted to do Narendra Modi. I worked on it. I even did a kacha draft. And then I came to the conclusion, and some of my friends also said this, that I would not be able to do justice to the present Prime Minister for the simple reason, A, of course, it was work in progress. B, of course, I didn't have the benefit of hindsight as I did with the other prime ministers. But even more important, I did not have the kind of inside information that I had about the other prime ministers. And people who've spoken to me about the other prime ministers, kya hota hai, asli mein kya hota hai, had done so after they demitted office. And I realized the difficulty I would run into. And considering that he looms so large in the public consciousness, and I feel has brought about a paradigm shift in Indian politics, I felt this was a project to be left for the future.
But I have to say, Neerja, and this is not plain flattery, I loved the anecdotal panache with which you wrote. I love the fact, and you bring it to life, you know, whether it's Indira Gandhi calling on people late at night saying, okay, I do have a shoe-in for the Prime Minister. So it's replete with a lot of anecdotal stuff. And I think, and which I want both these gentlemen to talk about, the difference between Modi and the other prime ministers were the other prime ministers spoke to individuals. This man only addresses the nation. So there's no one who has an inroad to the man. Oh, I just met the prime minister at night and, you know, had Khanvi with him. There's no scene. Because he's either having Khanvi alone or, you know, he's congratulating someone somewhere around the world. Why did you write so many books on this grand old party, the Congress? From 24 Akbar Road to, you even wrote on the Scindias, but at that time you didn't know that he was actually making a quiet move from the Congress to the BJP. Washing powder comes very expensive nowadays. So tell me, why did you write so many books? I mean, you could have been a Rajya Sabha member, you could have, you know, thrown things at the chair. I mean, why write books?
Thank you, Mr. Suhail said. First of all, before I respond to your question, I want to thank Neerja ji for writing that lovely book, not only because it's a fabulous book and it documents everything in contemporary history and politics, because she has, you know, made people post-2014 WhatsApp university students that, you know, they were prime ministers, India was a democracy, and decisions were taken. So on that count, you deserve a big compliment. I think on a serious note, journalists are, you know, they see and hear and write a lot of things. So we must be writing and documenting this contemporary politics and history, and that's very important. And that's why I wrote 24 Akbar Road, biography of Sonia Gandhi, House of Scindias, a book in Hindi called Bharat Ke Pradhan Mantri, because our present generation and future generation should be aware that there were, 14 prime ministers we have had. They were all well-meaning people. They had commitment to the nation. Some got little time and some got more, but their sincerity and commitment to the nation should never be questioned.
Bas.
That's it.
You should be on television more often, yeah? But Dr. Baru, when you wrote that book, there was a lot of criticism that you had kind of betrayed confidences, which you hadn't, because I've read the book. But tell me, I had famously once said of Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh that one woman is in power but not in office, one man is in office but not in power. How did it feel to work with someone like him? I have the highest regard, as you know. He's an outstandingly decent human being. But how did you manage the Pulak Chatterjees of the world, the pulls and pressures of whatever committee they had set up, National Advisory Committee and all of that? Because you were balancing a tightrope, which you're not quite good at normally, because you're a straightforward person. So what are the crooked things you had to adopt in order to survive in that job?
I'll leave that for my next book. Let me first join Rasheed in complimenting Neerja for an excellent book. And I think it's important that more and more people should write such books. And I share Rasheed's angst that I hope we continue to live in a country in which people can write books freely. I came here to speak about my latest book. I'm tired of speaking about a book I wrote 10 years back. But in these 10 years, I've written 4 books. And this, on India's power elite, is a book which I want to talk about precisely for this reason, that we live in a darbar. What I've tried to do in this book is to put a light on the Delhi Darbar. Your question is about how did this Delhi Darbar function in the past? And I've written about it. You can read my book. But I think the more important question today, as you read other books, is how is the Delhi Darbar changing? And I think the fascinating thing, reading through Neerja's book over the last 50 years, is Darbaris may come in and Darbaris may go out, but the Darbar remains. And this Darbar is still here.
Modi has a Darbar?
Absolutely. The Khan Market gang members have changed. But you just walk across from here to Khan Market, you will see more saffron than green and...
Or I think Sarojini Nagar, to be more appropriate. Why insult Khan Market?
Sarojini Nagar is not part of your Darbar. Khan Market gang is what was called the Darbar. Na? Lutyansky Delhi. Lutyansky Delhi colors have changed. But the same Gadi with the flag will go in front of you and the policeman will say, Bazu Hato. I had this experience. Getting into an airport. I was about to enter the screen, security screen, and a policeman pushed me. Physically pushed me. I was wondering what I did wrong. Then I found Kiran Rijiju walking through. I said, "Ye naya darbari aa gaya." He of course didn't turn back, but his security lady was there, some police officer. She turned, winked at me and walked with him. I said, "Ye kya ho gaya?" The old Darbaris did the same thing. Many people may forget, Anand Sharma was on the front page of Indian Express for refusing to walk through this metal detector at the Delhi airport. Indian Express had the courage to publish that. And Anand Sharma expressed regret. That was the old culture. Today we still have people who don't go through a metal detector. But who will write about it?
You know, I totally agree. In fact, I have always said that a lot of the people in the BJP are closet Congress wala wannabes. They would like to be like the Congress, but वो औकात और ट्रेनिंग की बात होती है, वो अभी है नहीं, आ जाएगी, वो भी आ जाएगी. पैसे भी आएंगे, सब आएगा. But let's focus on the book. So you talk about the power elite. Do you believe, and this is a genuine question, do you believe that under this Prime Minister, who's, you know, so self-effacing, humble, doesn't want any publicity, do you genuinely believe he actually wants to care or cares about a Darbar? Because the issues here are different. And today, let's actually cut Modi some slack. There has never been a greater amount of social media. There's never been more probity. Now, it took an Indian Express to capture Anand Sharma. But today, anyone can capture anyone on their mobile phones and, you know, and the BJP has suffered that as well. Their people have been caught red-faced. So I want to ask Neerja, with a society and a nation evolving, what do you, with a person of your stature and your insights, how do you think the prime ministerial office, how has it changed over the years?
I would say during Nehru's time, very low-key, with just an official heading it. But Nehru relied on his ministers. He gave them autonomy of functioning. They were tall leaders who'd come through the freedom movement. So the Prime Minister's office at that time was low-key. Indira Gandhi gave it a really high position. And you had a person like P.N. Haksar heading it, and the Kashmiri Mafia, what was called. So she worked through very highly competent people. They also gave a leftward tilt to her policies during what were called I would call her golden years, you know. When she got the better of her opponents, she changed geopolitical reality, had Bangladesh carved out, and so on. But again, the profile of she was a strong leader, strong majority, and worked through the Prime Minister's office, not through the ministers. Then you, of course, had Rajiv Gandhi, who with 414, I think Vinay was saying this, you know, the kind of mandate that Rajiv had. He could have done, I mean, he did do things. In my view, reducing their voting age, anti-defection law, 6 technology missions, Assam Accord, Mizo Accord, Punjab Accord, trying to solve problems, communication revolution set off, many things. But he couldn't handle caste and religion and the hold it had on the Indian psyche. But his prime minister's office was, it had character.
Even he had his darbaris.
Of course, Darbar was there, but not as powerful or as focused as Indira Gandhi. VP Singh though didn't like Narasimha Rao, the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. So he would use people as and when he needed them. He didn't need, these two people didn't even need a coterie, I think. They relied on their own political intelligence. Then in the coalition period, of course, you had weak PMOs. Very naturally, that's inherent in the situation. And then we come to Vajpayee, the strongest bureaucrat in the country ever.
Brajesh Mishra.
Brajesh
by
Mishra.
far.
Principal Secretary and the National Security Advisor combined. He was called the de facto Prime Minister, and Vajpayee left all the nitty-gritty of decision-making to him. And of course, Dr. Manmohan Singh was a very different model, as Sanjaya has written about. Power was, the mandate was Sonia Gandhi's, the mandate was transferred to Manmohan Singh. They had to share power. But where I agree with Sanjay is Dr. Manmohan Singh could have pushed the envelope much more than he actually did, because she needed him as much as he needed her. So that, I think, and yet he showed a side of himself in the Indo-US nuclear deal. Yeah. So determined for 39 long months, and he saw that deal through. So it's another side of Dr. Manmohan Singh which is very fascinating. And of course, Modi. The PMO of Modi, powerful but different from Indira Gandhi, because they are virtually faceless men. Everything goes through the PMO, but they don't have the kind of profile that other prime ministers had. So that is the difference.
Rasheed, you've had a ringside view and insights into the Congress. I've written about it, and I genuinely believe post-Bharat Jodo Yatra, there has been a makeover in the Rahul Gandhi brand. The sobriquets of Pappu and all have almost vanished. No matter what people might say, he's either an irritant or relevant or a thorn, but he matters today. I don't know whether it'll translate into votes, that's another matter. How do you think this party is going to revive its fortunes? And how do you think see, ultimately a political party is about how many votes it gets. It's not about, how much of newsprint it garners. What is your view about the Congress and its future as we see it today?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid and pertinent question you have asked. A lot of people think the Congress is dead or the story is over, but I think the corpse is quite, alive and kicking. And the reason is because through Rahul Gandhi, whatever we may think or say about him, he has a view and he sticks to that view. We may, again, I said, we may mock, we may not agree and all, but he's very determined person, and that's what we have seen throughout this course of Bharat Jodo Yatra. So the Congress has taken a pole position. It all depends whether Congress comes anywhere close to 100 Lok Sabha seats or not this time in 2024. Another 40-50 seats is going to just reduce the Congress to nowhere. It's just going to be what liberal Democrats are in the United Kingdom or some other political party. So for the Congress, this third time election of 2024 is extremely crucial, because here there is a pre-poll alliance that is known as the India Alliance. Remember in 2014 and 19, there was no pre-poll alliance. So, and some of the regional parties like the TMC and DMK and all are fairly well entrenched in their respective states. So if the Congress does, there are over 200 Lok Sabha seats where Congress and BJP are in direct contest. And both in 2014 and 19, the strike rate of BJP was 90% and more. So if the Congress can reduce it to 50-60%, then I think we're going to see very interesting time on the political turf.
So my last question will be to Dr. Baru. There's no denying that Narendra Modi is amongst, unarguably, the hardest working Prime Minister. 18 hours a day. And when you compare it to Deve Gowda, who was asleep, thank God he was asleep, the country was safe. But when you see this level of passion, this level of work, this level of involvement, I remember the late Arun Jaitley saying that he would get calls at 4:30 in the morning. Ki ye hua, wo hua. I mean, obviously the subject was it, but he's on the ball. When you compare it to all the other political parties, you'll have a young leader coming later on this afternoon, Akhilesh Yadav. When you see that man who's working bloody hard, and you compare it to some of the regional parties, some inheritors, some dynasts, some not, how do you see this whole thing play out? Because you've been an editor, you've been a journalist, you've been an author, you've been in the PMO. You'd perhaps have the best 360-degree view.
You know, Sohail, prime ministers don't have to work that hard. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a great prime minister. Here, he didn't work 24/7. Manmohan Singh was a good prime minister. He didn't work 24/7. Deve Gowda was a good prime minister. It's the stupid Delhi media, because they couldn't understand this dhoti-wearing South Indian, that portrayed him as a man who sleeps, merely because the eyes were closed. You talk to the IAS officers who worked with him, T.R. Satish Chandran, Principal Secretary to Prime Minister of Deve Gowda. You talk to the Finance Ministry guys. Deve Gowda's reputation as Prime Minister was good. The economy did reasonably well. In fact, the best years for the Indian economy were from 1991 to 2011. I mean, I can reel out the data off my head. You take the last 75 years, I've written another book called India, 75 Years for the Economy. This is a commercial break. The book is available in the bookstall there.
I mean, look at this. And then we talk about long speeches over moon missions.
So
I mean,
if you look at
this.
the data, Sohail, 91 to 2011 are the best years for India. Poverty coming down, employment going up, food production going up, industrial development going up.
Coalitions are not bad.
Coalitions worked. Deve Gowda was a coalition prime minister. Gujarat was a coalition prime minister. Narasimha Rao was a minority prime minister. Vajpayee was a coalition prime minister. Manmohan Singh was a coalition prime minister. This business that prime minister works all the time, what does it mean? It means others don't work. Does any cabinet minister have the courage to come out and say, I did this? You know, I was here in this room once when NewsX had Rajiv Chandrasekhar. And he was going on and on about everything he does is because Narendra Modi has inspired him to do it or told him. Why is he a minister? Why do you need
Congress even says that about Rahul Gandhi.
Sorry, that may be true, but today, why do you need ministers if all the ideas are coming from above? You just need joint secretaries to implement. So, you know, the idea of cabinet form of government is that you have ministers who take initiatives, they develop policies, there is a cabinet that discusses them. So this whole business of this one man working all the time is utter nonsense.
And Jyoti Babu, he used to sleep, he was a successful chief
Yeah,
minister.
I followed in his footsteps. I tell you, if you sleep every afternoon, 30% reduction in possible cardiac arrest. I would urge you to sleep every afternoon. Yeah, it's a good thing. I'm being serious. We're giving healthy advice here. Yeah, I mean, these are people who work 19 hours a day.
Yeah. Suhail, I just want to make a further point to what Sanjaya said. You know, while I travel around the country, particularly while I was doing the book, I used to ask younger people, have you heard of Nehru? Yes. Indira Gandhi? Yes. Rajiv Gandhi? Yes. VP Singh? No, not in one meeting of mine did anybody say they had heard of VP Singh. And so in one of the meetings, many of those present were OBCs. And some of them, 3 of them, were beneficiaries of the policy of reservation. They had not heard of VP Singh. Narasimha Rao, most of them hadn't. Deve Gowda, no. Indra Kumar.
Moraji Desai, you all forgot Moraji. I mean, I can't believe it.
And his favorite drink?
Then,
Now see, don't get personal here.
Gujarat, no. Vajpayee, yes, yes, yes. Manmohan Singh is too recent, so they knew about. And Modi, of course, yes. And this made me think, is it because certain prime ministers have been cultified and others have not been cultified by their parties? Or even take in the case of VP Singh.
Great point. Very, very good point.
Those who benefited from his policy of mandal and reservation and affirmative action did not own him. I mean, he spawned, his decision spawned a whole generation of OBC leadership. Mulayam Singh, Lalu Yadav, Nitish Kumar, Ashok Gehlot, Shivraj Chauhan, Uma Bharti, etc., etc. They ruled Indian states for 25 years. And they did not own him. So who is built up and who's not? What that legacy to pass on, I think we need to think about that.
Tell me, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister, obviously him being a technocrat, there was a lot of gravitas. He was also a former bureaucrat. He was a governor of the RBI. He brought a lot of gravitas to that office. And would I be wrong in saying that other than Nehru, there was no prime minister who brought that level of intellectual heft or gravitas? See, Nehru brought it because of his literary leanings, blah, blah, blah. Where do our prime ministers stack up in that area of intellectual heft?
You don't need intellectual level.
No, that way you don't need anything. We don't need a prime minister.
I'm sorry.
Why are we building the Ram temple? The country is Ram Bharose.
So listen to my answer. What a prime minister needs is to understand this complex country. This country is an extremely complex country. And you need a prime minister there who morning, noon and night understands what is happening in this very complex society. From that point of view, most of our prime ministers had that. And as Neerja correctly said, I think one thing that Rajiv Gandhi lacked was a feel of caste and religion. And he was too urban, like you and me, city boy. But most of the others had their feet on the ground. That's why I said Devagowda, feet on the ground. Narasimha Rao, feet on the ground. And when you have your feet on the ground, a politician has a feel for governance. He knows whom to reach out to. The best politician is the one who knows who has the right information on a particular subject. The Prime Minister is not secretary to government. The Prime Minister is a politician. But he should have people with him who are specialists in science, in space, in technology, in economics, in law and order, or whatever. They are the ones who actually help him. But he needs to have a feel for popular sentiment. I mean, Manipur is burning, and you have a prime minister who doesn't even go there. That is how I would judge Modi, not because he works 24/7 a day.
And just
one minute, we've been told to extend. So I'm getting worried. Yeah. 5 minutes.
And just, Mr. Swilsett, I just want to make one more point what Dr. Badu is making about Dr. Manmohan Singh. I think we tend to gloss over, ignore the fact that Dr. Manmohan Singh did win under his prime ministership, the Congress won another mandate of 2009. I mean, if he was a remote control, he was being run by a remote control and he was so timid and so why people of India gave a renewed mandate, and at that election was the one where Congress won in many urban seats. They got 22 Lok Sabha seats from Uttar Pradesh. They didn't have organization there. So there was a lot of hard work that Manmohan Singh had put in place, maybe not as a kind of cult figure as Mr. Modi has become or Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was, but Manmohan Singh's contribution is, I think, understated, and some biography should be there to highlight that point.
So I just want to, and this will be the last question, Neerja, from what Dr. Baru and Rasheed have said, do you believe that of late, and obviously as a process of evolution, Rahul Gandhi now has the smarts, he's beginning to understand or feel the political soil, as it were? There are visible changes. What do you make of the Congress? Because, in your profiling of various prime ministers, where do you think he stacks up? And would you say he is the real individual opponent brand to Modi?
Rahul Gandhi is not what he was, say, a year ago. The Bharat Jodo Yatra has given him a different profile. I'm not saying it. A lot of people on the ground say it. They see him very differently. And of course, he's very courageous in the way he criticizes his opponent. He also means well and comes across as sincere. But does he have what it takes to rule India? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. His access to his party people, all these things are talked about. I would have liked him to have gone to Himachal Pradesh rather than Ladakh at this time. You know, Himachal is virtually destroyed today, the way that those images that are coming across. And I think that's probably the tip of the iceberg. Yet he is the conscience of the Congress party. He's playing that role. I would look at, if I may say so, Mr. Kharge much more seriously as the future Prime Minister. If at all the India group is in a position to form a government. Never has a Dalit been the Prime Minister of India. South, I mean, he has many things going for him, but that's a different discussion. On Rahul Gandhi, is the Congress party reviving? Yes, the Congress party is moving positively in the right direction. They're getting their act together. But will it be enough in 2024?
Excellent. So, very quick, rapid fire. 2024, Prime Minister of India?
I think Neerja has thrown up an interesting name.
No, Mike.
Mallikarjun Kharge.
You're saying he'll be the Prime Minister?
I hope he is.
Okay.
First Dalit Prime Minister of India.
I think Mr. Modi continues to be a favorite, but going to be a dark horse, not somebody from the Congress party. A regional
Yellow.
chief minister, yeah.
You also ditched the Congress?
No, it's a cold reality, stark reality.
Neerja? Who'll be India's Prime Minister in 2024? I mean, after the Lok Sabha elections. Unless someone says, oh, in January it'll be Modi.
As things stand today, I think Narendra Modi has a good chance of coming back. As things stand today.
I think on that note, now, you know, we've given you a ringside view of authorship, academia, intellectual heft, and a prediction for 2024. I have to thank NewsX and obviously thank the panelists for their enduring gravitas and their ability to churn out book after book with such fortitude. And here's looking forward to your next book on Mr. Modi.